My wife's phone had been off for 6 months. Credit cards hadn't been used. There was no trace until I found her in another city, in another life, living as someone else's wife. My name is Michael Davis. I'm 42 years old, and I work as a project manager at a software company in Seattle. Until that horrible night 6 months ago, I thought Sarah and I had a happy 8-year marriage. When I came home on the evening of March the 15th, her shoes were at the door. Her bag was in its place in the hallway. Her phone was left on the table next to the charger, with a dead battery. But Sarah wasn't there. At first, I thought she was late. Maybe she went out with friends and forgot to take her phone. But Sarah wasn't like that. I had known her for 8 years. She would never go anywhere without her phone. I waited until 11 p.m. Then I called our neighbors, called her friends. No one had seen her. I went to the police at dawn. Detective Johnson didn't take me too seriously. He said adults don't disappear, they run away. Maybe there were problems in your marriage and you didn't notice. But I knew Sarah. She was someone who didn't make spontaneous decisions, who lived a planned and organized life. She would never forget her phone anywhere. The first week was hell. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I took time off work. I spent all day looking for Sarah. I called hospitals, called morgues. I asked her friends and relatives over and over again. Even her closest friend Emma didn't know anything. I asked, when was the last time you talked to her? She said we talked on the phone a week ago, but it was strange. It was like she was in a hurry. She hung up quickly. The second week, police searched our house thoroughly. They started to see me as a suspect. Detective Johnson called me to the station. He asked where I was that night. Did you leave the house? Who did you talk to? He rained questions on me. I took a polygraph test. The result came out clean, but I was still treated as a suspect. The third week, the media heard about the case. Reporters started waiting in front of my house. News came out with headlines like "Missing Woman's Husband Speaks." Theories about me were circulating on social media. Some thought I was a murderer. Some claimed Sarah had disappeared on her own. I started getting strange looks even at work. A month later, police decided to move the file to cold cases. Detective Johnson said it clearly. No evidence of murder, no evidence of kidnapping. Maybe she left on her own. Was there something she wanted to tell you? Was there a problem in your marriage? But I knew Sarah. We were happy. At least that's what I thought. Of course, now I was questioning everything. Maybe only I thought we were happy. Maybe Sarah was unhappy but couldn't tell me. The second month was even harder. Now everyone looked at me with pity but also suspicion. They acted strange even at work. My boss, Robert Miller, was very understanding at first. He said, take as much time off as you want. But over time, his attitude changed too. Whispers were going around the office. Everyone was hesitant to talk to me. I started going through Sarah's belongings. Maybe I could find a clue. I tried to open her computer, but it was password protected. I couldn't remember her phone's password either. While going through her bag, I noticed something. Her ID and driver's license were missing. Sarah would never go anywhere without her ID. This indicated that she hadn't planned it. But later, what I noticed made me suspicious. Some clothes were missing from Sarah's closet. Her favorite dress, sneakers, favorite bag. Had these disappeared before or after she went missing? I didn't tell the police about these details because it would make me look more suspicious. Our neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, said she saw something strange that night. She had seen Sarah getting into a taxi at midnight, but wasn't sure. She said maybe I was dreaming. She was old and her eyesight wasn't very good. I went to Sarah's bank. I examined the account movements. There were strange cash withdrawals in the last month. $500, $300, $200. Small amounts, but totaling nearly $2,000. What could she have withdrawn this money for? The banker Jennifer Martinez told me that cash withdrawals of this amount are normal. Maybe she withdrew it for daily expenses. But what seemed strange to me was that Sarah normally used credit cards and rarely used cash. Why would she have withdrawn so much cash in the last month? I went to the marketing agency where Sarah worked, Morrison and Associates. Her boss, William Morrison, told me that Sarah had been very distracted for the last month. She couldn't concentrate on her work. We understood that there was a problem, but we didn't ask what it was. Sarah's coworker, Monica Stevens, gave me more details. She said Sarah was constantly looking at her phone, talking secretly. Someone was calling her constantly. She never said who it was. We thought maybe it was a family problem. This information made me even more curious. Who was Sarah talking to so often? Why wasn't she telling me? I decided to examine phone records. I requested Sarah's call records from the phone company Verizon. They provided them due to the police investigation. I saw that she was constantly calling the same number in the last month. I tried to find out whose number this was. The number belonged to someone named Robert Anderson. This name didn't sound familiar to me. Sarah had never mentioned this man to me. Who was Robert Anderson? I decided to hire a private detective. Gary Wilson was a very experienced detective. I told him to investigate Robert Anderson. The information he brought a week later was shocking. Robert Anderson was 45 years old, a real estate broker. He was married and father of 2 children. I couldn't understand why Sarah was talking to him so much. Maybe Sarah was looking for a house, but she never mentioned it to me. Gary Wilson did more in-depth research. He learned that Sarah was frequently seen at the real estate office where Robert worked, Sunset Realty. The receptionist Angela Rodriguez told me that Mrs. Sarah came frequently. She would have long conversations with Robert. This information made me very uncomfortable. Why was Sarah going to the real estate office? Why wasn't she telling me? Was she planning to buy a house? Gary investigated further. He found out that Sarah and Robert had coffee together, had lunch together. He even found out that they went to the movies a few times. This wasn't just real estate business anymore. Did Sarah have a relationship with someone else? The 3rd month, I had no hope left. I started going to psychologist Dr. Jennifer Watson. There was something called missing person syndrome. The trauma you experience when someone you love disappears. It's even harder than death because there's uncertainty. You don't know what happened, you can't grieve. Dr. Watson had told me that I was going through a very difficult process. Not knowing what happened to my wife was consuming me, but I needed to hold on to life. I should consider returning to work, keep my routine. But I couldn't work. The house felt very empty without Sarah too. Every evening when I came home, I hoped to see her. The moment I put my key in the door, I thought I would find her inside. But I was always met with an empty house. Even looking at Sarah's photos was painful. We had photos of happy moments, vacation photos, birthday celebrations, anniversary dinners. They all seem like lies now. Our neighbors Linda and Mark Peterson were trying to be very helpful. They constantly brought food, asked about me, but they had their suspicions too. Linda said to me one day that she asked if Sarah was really happy, if she had any strange behaviors. These kinds of questions upset me a lot. I thought Sarah was happy, but now everyone was questioning our marriage. Maybe we really had problems, but I hadn't noticed. I went to Sarah's doctor, Dr. Patricia Miller. I asked what you talked about at her last checkup. Dr. Miller said she couldn't give details due to patient confidentiality, but she said this. Sarah seemed a bit stressed at her last visit. She was having sleep problems. Sleep problems? Sarah really wasn't sleeping well lately. She would get up at night. She would go to the bathroom, drink water, not return to bed for a long time. I had asked her why. She had answered that it was work stress. I talked to Sarah's gym trainer, Tracy Williams. Sarah exercised at the gym 3 days a week. Tracy told me that Sarah had seemed very indecisive for the last month. She couldn't concentrate on exercises, constantly looked at her watch. All these details showed that Sarah was having problems in the last period. But what were these problems? Why hadn't she shared them with me? Were there serious problems in our marriage that I hadn't seen? The fourth month, media interest had decreased. Journalists had moved on to new stories. Sarah's disappearance case was now old news. But for me, every day was the same pain. Sarah's mother, Melissa, started to get very angry with me. She said I killed her one day on the phone. It can't be explained any other way. My daughter was happy. She had plans. If she was going to run away from you, she would have told me. This accusation hurt me a lot. Melissa had been my mother-in-law for 8 years. She knew me, but now she thought I was a murderer. Sarah's father, Frank, wasn't talking to me at all. He seemed to agree with his wife, too. Detective Johnson called me for questioning again. I asked if there was any new development. He said no, but we have other questions. Were you really at home that night? No one saw you. The neighbors say they didn't see you. This was true. I hadn't talked to anyone that night, hadn't gone out, but did this make me guilty? How would I prove my innocence? I decided to hire a lawyer. Maria Rodriguez, who worked as a criminal defense attorney, told me that I was currently the main suspect. Be very careful when talking to police. Every word can be used against you. With Maria's suggestion, I took the lie detector test again. The result was clean again. But Detective Johnson said this wasn't enough either. He said lie detectors aren't accepted in court. The fifth month, now everyone thought Sarah had been murdered. Some people were even definitely saying that I had killed her. When I went to the supermarket, people looked at me strangely, as if they were encountering a murderer. The situation at work had become very difficult, too. My colleagues couldn't talk to me comfortably. My boss, Robert Miller, called me. He said he understood my situation was difficult, but the company also has an image. Maybe it would be good if you took some time off. This was actually being fired behind closed doors, but they couldn't say it openly. I resigned too. It was impossible to work there anymore. Money problems had started too. House loan, car loan, bills. Sarah was also working, and her salary was helping at home. Now I only had my savings. At the beginning of the sixth month, I was starting to accept that Sarah might be dead. I was even thinking of organizing a funeral. But there was no body. How would I have a funeral? Dr. Watson had told me that I could have a symbolic funeral as a way to grieve, but I wasn't ready. I still hoped to find her. That's when I decided I would leave Seattle. Everything here reminded me of Sarah. Houses, streets, parks, restaurants we went to. Her ghost was wandering everywhere. I decided to move to Portland. I would make a new beginning. While looking for a house, I went to a real estate office in Portland. Real estate consultant Jessica Rodriguez was very helpful. She said she found the perfect house for me, a quiet neighborhood, ideal for a new beginning. When we went to see the house, the neighborhood was really peaceful. Children were playing in the street, neighbors were greeting each other. There was normal life. I liked the house. While signing the papers, Jessica's phone rang. She said, "Sorry, there's an emergency. Another client is calling." When she answered the phone, the voice I heard froze me. She told Jessica that Sarah really liked the house and was very satisfied. They would deliver the keys tomorrow. Sarah. This name couldn't be a coincidence. How many Sarahs could there be in Portland? I asked Jessica who this Sarah was. She said she's also one of my clients. I found a house for her last week, too. They were a very sweet couple. Her husband, Robert, was very kind. Robert. This name sounded very familiar to me. Robert Anderson, the man Sarah constantly called in phone records. I felt nauseous. This couldn't be real. Jessica said she couldn't give Sarah's address due to customer confidentiality, but she said one thing. They also live in this neighborhood. Maybe you'll run into them. I couldn't sleep that night. Could it be a big coincidence that someone named Sarah lived in this neighborhood? But I no longer believed in coincidences. The next morning I went to Portland early and started wandering around the neighborhood. I couldn't find anything the first day. The second day was the same. The third day, when I entered a local cafe, I saw the couple sitting at one of the tables. The woman was blonde, medium height, her back was turned to me. But there was something about her, something familiar. Her walk, the way she sat, the way she tied her hair. It was Sarah. Sarah, whom I had been looking for 6 months, was here, happily drinking her coffee with another man. The man next to her was handsome, about 45 years old, wearing a suit. Sarah was looking at him with love, laughing, holding his hand, as if she had never been married, as if she had never known someone named Michael Davis. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. Would I get up and confront her? Would I call the police? Or would I quietly run away? In the end, I chose the third option. I left the cafe, noted her car's license plate, started following them. Sarah and Robert entered a luxury apartment. I looked at the mailboxes at the door. It said Robert Anderson and Sarah Anderson. Sarah had changed her last name. They were married. I was shocked. Was this real or was it a bad dream? My wife, Sarah, the Sarah I had been looking for 6 months, was living here as a married couple with another man. She had even changed her name. That evening when I returned to my hotel, I started thinking about everything. How could Sarah have done this? How could she have left our 8-year marriage so easily? While I was looking for her and crying, how could she marry someone else and be happy? 6 months. She had built a new life, gotten married, maybe even had a child in just 6 months. But something seemed strange. How could Sarah and Robert get married? Sarah was still married to me. We hadn't divorced. This meant Sarah had committed bigamy. She had 2 husbands. The next day I continued following Sarah. In the morning they went shopping with Robert. They were doing grocery shopping, just like normal married couples. Sarah seemed pregnant. Her belly was slightly swollen. This shocked me even more. Had she gotten pregnant within 6 months? The pregnancy issue upset me a lot. Sarah and I had been trying to have children for 8 years. We had gone to doctors, had tests done. The problem was with me. My sperm count was low, and my chance of having children was very low. Sarah had accepted this situation, saying it's not a problem, we can adopt. But apparently she was lying. Deep down, she wanted children, and maybe she had found Robert because she knew she couldn't have them with me. When they returned home in the evening, I sat in the cafe across from the apartment and continued watching them. Their windows were open. They seemed happy. Sarah was cooking. Robert was watching TV. They were living an ordinary married life, as if they had never known someone named Michael Davis. I needed to report this situation to the police, but how? The woman they had been looking for 6 months was here, married to someone else. She hadn't been kidnapped. She had left on her own. She had left me. But she had also committed crimes. Bigamy, living with false identity, giving false statements in a missing person case. The next day I returned to Seattle. I called Detective Johnson. I said I found Sarah. He asked excitedly where. I said she's in Portland, living married with someone else. Johnson was surprised. He asked if I was sure. I said I saw it with my own eyes. I even recorded video. Police called Sarah for questioning. I also went to give a statement. When Sarah came, seeing her was very strange. The woman I had missed for 6 months was in front of me, but she was now a stranger. She wasn't looking at me, avoiding eye contact. Detective Johnson asked her why a missing person report was filed and why she didn't inform her husband. Sarah's answer shocked me very much. She said her marriage with Michael was over. She just didn't know how to tell him. They had argued that night. She had left the house. She wanted to build another life. Lies. All lies. There had been no argument that night. When I came home, everything was normal. When had Sarah made such a decision? When had she met someone else? But I remembered Robert Anderson. She'd been talking to him for 3 months in phone records, so the plan had been prepared for a long time. Detective Johnson continued asking when she met Robert Anderson. Sarah answered after hesitating a bit that she met him 2 years ago. He was a client at her workplace. They gradually became friends. 2 years. She had been cheating on me for 2 years. She had been lying for 2 years. Were all our happy moments, our laughter, our togetherness fake? Sarah had been living a double life for 2 years. Detective Johnson turned to me and asked if I felt there was a problem in our marriage, if I suspected my wife had a relationship with someone else. I said no. I hadn't noticed anything. Sarah must have been a very good actress. She had played the perfect wife role for 2 years. But thinking about it now, there were signs. Sarah coming home late, long phone conversations, spending too much time at the gym, buying new clothes. I had considered all of these normal, but apparently she was trying to impress someone else. Finally, Sarah turned to me and said she was unhappy. She was trying to tell me, but I was always busy with work. I was acting as if she didn't exist. Robert understands her, pays attention to her. Hearing these accusations made me almost crazy with anger. I was working hard because I wanted to give her a beautiful life. The house loan, car loans, vacations, everything was running on my salary. Sarah worked part-time and earned $1,500 a month. I was working 10 hours a day to provide her with a luxurious life, and now she was using this against me. She was blaming me for working too much. This wasn't fair at all. After police took her statement, I wanted to talk to Sarah, but she refused. She said, "Talk to my lawyer. We have nothing to talk about anymore." These words also hurt me a lot. Our 8-year marriage meant nothing to her. Sarah's lawyer was Lisa Henderson. She was a very famous and expensive lawyer. How was Sarah paying for her? When I met with her, what I learned shocked me even more. Sarah had filed for divorce. She wanted half of the assets: house, cars, bank accounts, stocks. She was demanding half of everything. But worse, she wanted alimony from me. She had been with someone else for 2 years, left me, married someone else, but wanted money from me. Lisa Henderson told me that Sarah is pregnant and unable to work. She has the right to alimony. Could there be such audacity? Sarah had cheated on me, left me, married someone else, gotten pregnant, but was asking for alimony from me. Was the legal system this unfair? I hired my own lawyer. David Thompson was an experienced divorce lawyer. He had been working in Seattle for 25 years and solved very difficult cases. When I told him the situation, he said, "This is a very complex case. Sarah's behavior isn't ethical, but she might be legally right. The marriage is over. She has the right to share assets. But since she committed bigamy, this situation might change." Bigamy. Sarah had married someone else while married to me. This was a federal crime. David Thompson said we can use this. Also, she had committed fraud in the missing person case, given false statements to police. These are also crimes. But I didn't just want revenge. I wanted justice. Sarah had cheated on me for 2 years, made me cry for 6 months, put me through hell. How dare she then emerge and ask for money from me?